Just a moment, we will have Art Cullen, the editor of the Storm Lake Times in Iowa. We will ask him one of our questions, which is, yes caucus or no caucus? As people have been waiting patiently, we'll hear just a few of the early votes, and then we will go back to Art Cullen. Donna from Bonnie Lake, Washington.
Yes. Good morning, Jefferson.
Yes caucus or no caucus?
I'm probably for a primary, but there's one other reason to have a caucus, though.
Okay.
And that would be you get the local party gets information on people who are interested in politics.
Yeah,
So
it's an organizing tool. You can do list building. Thank you very much, Donna.
Yes, hello?
Kurt, go ahead. Yes caucus or no caucus?
My name is Jared.
Oh, sorry, Jared. Yes caucus or no caucus?
No caucus.
Thank you very much. Kurt, XM Radio. Ankeny, Iowa, thank you for calling in. Yes caucus or no caucus?
No caucus. I'm a proud Iowa Democrat.
Thank you very much, Kurt. We're doing speed round on the votes. Mark from Costa Mesa, yes caucus or no caucus?
No caucus.
Thank you very much, Mark. And Kara will take your vote. Yes caucus or no caucus from South Carolina?
No caucus. Thanks for being on Free Speech TV again.
Thank you for calling in, Kara. We appreciate you. Let us get to our guest. Art Cullen. So far, the early returns are not looking good for the caucus. I understand. If you were going to make a caucus decision, and if you were representing the caucus, today is not the day that you'd want to have that election. The caucus is not looking good this morning. Art Cullen, thanks for being with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Is this the end of the caucus?
Well, that's certainly the way it's sounding. The caucuses have been under attack for many years, and every 4 years the Democratic and Republican state parties go to Washington to defend the first-in-the-nation status, and then there's been subsequent attacks on accessibility, the diversity of the state in general, and whether Iowa is an appropriate place to winnow the field. And this would appear to be the final argument to kill the caucuses. And there's been a lot of people who've wanted to, big money people want to eliminate the caucuses for a long time because it's easier to control election with TV ads than it is to go out and have to organize precinct by precinct and actually meet real people.
So I'm talking to Art Cullen with Storm Lake, Iowa, one of Iowa's local papers, Storm Lake Times, excuse me. I've been watching this for a while. How long have you been watching caucuses in Iowa, Art?
Since 1976, when Jimmy Carter was vaulted into the forefront from Iowa.
And the argument for
that was the first election I voted in.
The argument for the caucus is that it's a little more human. There's a little more interaction. It's not just well, you get your focus group results, you do your polling, you make your TV ad, and then you try to push votes, and then people go vote. That there's actually interplay, there's actual interaction, there's actual tug and pull. What did I miss about that, or what would you add?
Yeah, and as you referred to earlier with the caller, it's a party-building exercise. It was never intended to be a primary election and to pick a winner, as it were. Everybody always asks me, who's going to win the Iowa caucuses? Well, the old saying goes, there's 3 tickets out of Iowa to New Hampshire. It's really about winnowing the field, which we did effectively this year, and that's from 25 candidates down to an effective field of about 5. And so we did our job effectively. It's just that the state, it's not the process that broke down. It was the app, And so you've got the intersection of the Greek town hall meeting where citizens stand up and talk to each other, intersecting with a computer app, and it doesn't work. And so perhaps the caucuses are anachronistic, but they're still a great exercise in community democracy.
Yeah. And there are 3 questions, it seems to me, here that we've been conflating as one. I have been conflating as one thing. There's the question of the caucus, there's the question of the app, and then there's the question of first in the nation. Those are three separate questions, right? Does the caucus make sense? Does it make sense to try to use some app to tally the results? And does it make sense to have the caucus, however you tally the results, and whether or not you have a caucus, does it make sense to have Iowa go first? Which of those questions do you want to take first?
The last.
All right, let's do that.
And there's a good reason. There's a good reason for Iowa and New Hampshire to go first, and that's because a candidate without a whole lot of money, like Jimmy Carter or Barack Obama, could come into Iowa and go into living rooms and meet people and have coffee and pick up delegates in small towns, 3 or 4 at a time, and mount a victory that way to vault them into the next state, New Hampshire. And Iowa has the highest literacy rate in the country. We have 300 newspapers in 99 counties, and the people are very actively engaged in politics. They can tell you about the notch baby problem and Social Security and how Medicaid works.
They're a trained focus group. They've been evaluating presidential candidates for decades.
Right, and the same with New Hampshire, and they take it very seriously. And, the main anxiety in Iowa this year is we're going to screw this up somehow, and we did.
But each time you go to Washington, D.C. and say, let's stay first, and then this time, the next trip to Washington, D.C. to stay first is going to be harder.
Yeah, and so I think it's actually all the attention that's been paid to Iowa and all the money that's poured and rains on the state in political money has been bad for our political culture. But I think the result
how come it's been, in what way has it been bad for political culture? Because it empowers certain consultants? Because it makes voters feel weird? Why has it been bad for the political culture?
Because everybody, all the social media and all the TV advertising, that a lot of which is negative, and it just never stops in Iowa. There's a constant campaign going on, and so then it's part of the process that sets people into their own camps, and they dig in their heels, and they don't talk to each other, and they just get on Facebook and cocoon, and a caucus actually forces people out of their bubble and into the public square.
This is why we're conflating these three questions, and I find all three questions interesting. Right? To what degree?
I'm sorry.
To what? No, you didn't do it. I did it. I appreciate us breaking it up now. This question of whether an app worked or whether there should be electronic tallying. That's sort of one question, and now the app looks bad. But then we're conflating that to say
in the days when in 8 years ago they just counted heads. They said, "Hey, everybody, go to your corner. Obama, you're over there. Clinton, you're over there. Edwards, you're over there." And then uncommitteds, and we're going to play musical chairs for a while, and you can switch back and forth. And we're all friends. It's all going to go fine. Everybody laughs and has coffee and cookies, and it worked. And then you introduce all this media expectation and then the technology and so on. And it used to be you just count heads and they'd say, okay, that's pretty close. We'll call that one in. These are about delegates to a county convention, and everybody agrees in the caucus. And then as the money pours in and it gets more and more intense, and you have Bernie and Hillary and then now this with introducing satellite locations and the app and reporting 3 sets of data. And it used to be we got together in caucus and elected delegates to the county convention, and it worked.
Now, you embedded in your defense.
It's going at light speed now.
Yeah, and we're talking to Art Cullen. We're about to wrap, but what is your response to? You made a case for New Hampshire and Iowa being early because they're small. There are other small states. Nevada is a relatively small state. New Mexico is a relatively small state.
And it's set up nicely with South Carolina. Now you got these largely Anglo states, New Hampshire and Iowa, leading up to largely African American states, South Carolina,
and no state with a large
Latino state, Nevada.
So how do you and so you think that mix is appropriate? But how do you defend the fact you got if the very first post you got to pass is a 91% voting post? What does that say to a party that is more diverse than it's ever been, that's trying to represent a country that's more diverse and getting more diverse than it's ever been? Or just give your last word.
I give you Barack Obama.
I appreciate
and Jesse Jackson plays third.
Are you? Were you featured in the vampire movie? You're one of the Cullen family. Were you in Twilight?
I actually am a vampire, and I'm being exposed to sunlight right now, and I'm not sure what it's going to do to me.